Stop the cap.
Goodness gracious. All right. This video is only going to apply to the people who take what I say and then try to apply it to their own lives. It's not for everybody because I know that everybody just simply is not going to engage in this type of self improvement. But this is for those of you, who want to. And this is based off of me listening to Tariq Nasheed's one of his shows. And I'm sitting here, I'm in the bed, I'm looking at the ceiling. I got a laptop on my chest, and I got iPads and laptop. I got all type of stuff just around me because I'm trying to get some work done. And I'm listening. I got Tariq, playing in my ears in the earbuds, and I'm listening to the episode where I don't know. He's got this thumbnail about incels or something like that. They haven't even really touched on the subject. White supremacists called, and then some Native American woman called who was just awfully slow. And then another brother called in talking about astrology. And I mean, the amount of people who called, I saw this back in the day with Blog Talk Radio. The amount of people who call in who can't get their thoughts together, who can't get to the point. There's like a real problem here. And I know that everybody can't be high IQ. Everybody's not walking around Albert Einstein. But I don't know, maybe I just give more faith to humanity sometimes because I'm like, people can't be this slow, but apparently I must be missing some things, or maybe I'm in a bubble because I only interact with people who, I know there's stupid people out there. I don't interact with them. I just kind of dismiss them, but I never engage them enough sometimes to listen to just how stupid they are, or just how slow they are. Or maybe it's not the fact that they're stupid. It's just the fact that they haven't developed the vocabulary to be able to articulate their thoughts in not only a timely fashion, but in a manner that allows people to, very quickly understand what they're trying to say and the message that they're trying to convey. It's like when I do my imitation of Darth Sidious and I do the Darth Rizius thing, right? Darth Sidious speaks in a very specific, manipulative manner. It's very concise. It's very to the point, right? He's got a grasp on the English language. I've said this for years to people. I'm like, the number one thing that people are going to write you off on is if you don't have mastery of the English language. If you're fumbling over words. Look, I mean, you guys have heard me. Right in the middle of videos, I'll be like, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Right? Because, as much as I try to, expand my vocabulary, sometimes there's certain words I forget because I don't use them all the time. Other times, I just don't have the vocabulary. It's kind of like use it or lose it. Sometimes I'll gain words and then I'll forget them. I'll just lose them. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that word and its meaning, but it's not something I use in a regular sentence. I also feel like with black people, you have to be somewhat careful. Because I remember when I first came online, there was a lot of people who were accusing me of not being black. There were a lot of people that I don't know, something about my voice. They were accusing me of not being black. I was blown away. I know I don't sound like a dude in the street, but I mean, there's certain things that I pick up on and I'm aware that I do. And sometimes it just depends. Sometimes if I'm tired, you're going to hear me say, nah, I mean, nah, I'm saying, or if, I just, I'm, my sometimes your brain just isn't working, or I haven't even gathered all my thoughts correctly. Like I haven't gathered them, I haven't organized them. So I end up using words like and filler words like I mean, I'm saying, and my brain's doing funny things as I'm talking. But when you're talking to other black people, a lot of that ends up being injected into conversations with black people because it's a way for black people to know that you're tied into the culture. So you're even though it's a filler word, you're almost kind of forced into using it. It's like in Philly where everything is a John or I don't know, what other expressions will people say? Like New York, they'll probably say no more. In Philly, they say less. Um, and these are some of these things are just, they're expressions and they're tied to black culture. And yes, they're filler words, but then they're also markers for how much you're tied into the culture and how much you interact with other people. It's kind of like a marker for that. Because if you don't use any of, these filler words, if you don't kind of make these punctuation announcements when you're speaking to other black people, it's like black people question as to whether you're authentic. Tariq does this a lot when people call in and you can hear, because we can't see what the person looks like, but you're listening and, sometimes the person will talk and like, you don't sound FBA. It's those sorts of things. You don't sound FBA. Where are you from? What's your background, right? Tariq starts going into investigation mode. But I'm saying that's not even the primary reason that I came up, that I wanted to, what the heck am I knocking over? That's not even the primary reason I wanted to make this video. The primary reason I wanted to make this video was because, look, I'm telling you right now, if you're not using AI, you're going to be behind. You should, if like, whether you have a cell phone, an iPad, or whatever, make a chat GPT, a chat, what is it, chat.openai, make an account, right? You got a YouTube account, right? Make an account and start using it on a regular basis, and I know that there's some people, I mean, you got Governor Hochul up there, black kids, they don't even know what a computer is. I mean, just nonsense. But I'm saying there's a lot of people out here, they don't use a computer enough to the point where they type. They don't use a computer enough to the point where, and I'm saying, like, there's levels to the shit. There's levels. Like for me, at this point, all of my emails, will go out through some sort of AI that's correcting the emails because it looks bad if you send an email and it's grammatically incorrect. Okay. And plus, the AI is just far superior. There's no match. There's no match. I cannot argue with the AI in terms of sentence structure. I don't even try. It's pointless. Okay. It's that good. And I'm saying that is now the new tool for increasing your vocabulary, increasing or improving your sentence structure and your ability to convey your thoughts and convey your ideas, because the more you use AI, the more you begin to, sound like AI and structure your sentences like AI. And, AI is plastic, meaning it's based off of all of the information that it gets. And the more information it gets, the smarter it gets. So you're dealing with a model that's constantly improving. And if you're using it, you will improve with it. Whether you're asking questions, just simply things that you want to know, right? I mean, there was an AI program I was going to use, and I was going to do some nerd shit, like ask it about faster than light travel and what would the AI need to like what are the theories on relativity and what would AI need to, do in order to figure out, these sorts of problems, right? Because even, people talking about UFOs and all the stuff, the government and what the Navy videos that they're releasing, guarantee, like, in order to get to a more advanced state of being, right? Because there's certain calculations, your mind, just can't process like a computer can. And I firmly believe that there needs to be an integration, not physically, but in terms of a greater amount of interaction with AI to further, what's the word? To further evolve the human experience, to further evolve how humans think, right? Because just like anything, right? People have pets, they have cats and dogs. Nobody can tell me that cats and dogs have not adjusted or evolved simultaneously with human beings to the point that they've gotten to, where people can do all type of things with dogs, like when you see the dog show and they're zigzagging through the obstacle course, right? That like the dog knows what the mission was, right? The dog knows. So there's an interaction there. And I'm saying AI is the same thing with humans interacting with AI. So we will evolve a certain way or a different way now that AI is here, but you have to be interacting with it. Now, I mean, that's a more advanced version of, further down the road of what I'm saying. Right now, I'm primarily focused on Black people learning or interacting with AI to where some of the weakest links in the Black community, some of the weakest elements in the Black community can improve where they currently are. Because, it's sad to hear a grown Black man be unable to articulate himself, to be unable to convey his thoughts. Now, I don't know how much of that is a limitation innately that's in the person, or whether it's the fact that due to the background, the socioeconomic background they came from, their parents are not educated, so their parents were never using big words around the house, whether education was not a focus, whether they didn't put the time in the education for the education to be a focus. But, when you get, it's sad to hear a grown person speak as if they can't read. Like when your inability to read is so strong that it comes out verbally, is a sad state of affairs. Nobody is going to take you seriously. That will most certainly affect you in terms of the quality and the type of women that you have access to and that you can get, the type of career path that you're going to go down, the way that people are going to interact with you and even respect you. If you sound dumb, they're going to treat you like you're dumb. This should be right up there on the survival hierarchy as never lacking. It should be right up there. So, listening to this brother, and anytime I hear somebody talk about astrology, that's magical thinking. Right off top, magical thinking is right. It's right there with religion. It's right there. It's magical thinking. That's being moved by mysticism and spirituality, and you're not tethered to the ground. It's just like this thing that I just talked about with this guy getting shot, talking about firearms etiquette. I got to see a bunch of emotional comments coming from some people that are crying and whining about, oh, this officer needs to be arrested. That's not what the conversation is about. Gun safety that's not going to help you. This isn't about gun safety. This is about firearms etiquette. This is about you just shot somebody in self-defense. Don't be standing there like a dumbass when the cops come, because all they see you is you standing over a body and you got a gun out. They're going to draw down on you. Put the gun away. Get away from the body. Put the gun in your holster. Same thing. Don't shoot through a door. You haven't identified targets. Don't just swing the door open. You don't know who's outside. Why are you heading towards danger? All of these sorts of things. How to interact with law enforcement, how to avoid law enforcement. If you have a firearm, just avoid the interaction altogether. All of these things will save your life. But I got a bunch of people in my comment section whining, bitching, and crying and fussing, that sound and it irritates me, and I can recognize it when there's black men who throw up the same emotional, non-critically thinking, they have this inability to detach themselves emotionally from whatever the hell the topic is. And that's typically the type of shit that black women do. And I know that, again, with 61% of black women being, black community being 61% mothers, the vast majority of black men were raised by single mothers. This is why we got all these emotional, black men running around the black community. They're emotional as fuck. And just overly emotional boys that are ready to fight everybody and quick to be offended and stuff like that. And then you sprinkle on top of that, and they're dumb, and they can't articulate themselves, and they can't even just get on a show. There's plenty of guys in the streets, like the brother that called immediately after, this guy called, the guy that's asking about astronomy, or was it before? Was it before or was it after? Anyway, I can't remember. But right after or before, there was a brother that called that was, what did he bring up? He was bringing up the situation with the teacher and the braiding the hair. I think it was before, right? Because it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, he got fired. I knew that was going to happen. It's inappropriate. And then on top of that, you posted it. Inappropriate for the teacher to have the girls, unbraiding his hair. Just dumb. Just dumb. And that brother, was a street dude. You could hear in his voice that he's urban. But he was, clear in his message. Still used street vernacular. He understood what he was saying. He was laying out his points, moving forward. Boom. But then you get these other people, and men and women, and they just, anytime Tariq is like, "Oh, I gotta land your plane, brother. I gotta land your plane. I gotta land your plane." I'm like, God damn. How many? We got a world of slow people. We like all these people, these people have to live. They have to pay their bills. They have to, have places that they can stay. Right. And this is where my elitism comes in. I'm like, I don't want a neighbor that's dumb like this motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they want to talk to you about dumb shit. You ever sit there and talk to a dude? That was my problem with the other clip that I posted, the other day, of what was the chick's name? Dee something. She had the video where the brother was up there, and he's one of these 19 Keys. Who else is another magical Hotep? 19 Keys is a little bit better, but he's like a brother polite. You know what I mean? But when they start getting into all mystical and mysticism and shit like that, and they start, anytime, there was a part in the clip where the woman asked, the host of the show asked him to unpack what he was saying. And I know why she did it. And she was like, I know my audience. And he got kind of irritated and was pushing back. But, it's like, anytime you have to use, it's cool to use a metaphor to try to explain, what you're saying and get somebody to understand it. But anytime you have to use a metaphor followed by another analogy in order to see, now you've moved too far off what the topic is. You're too far off base. A lot of people are not going to be able to follow you, especially if they can't identify with your analogy and they couldn't identify with your metaphor, which is what brought you to the analogy. That's why she was asking for him to unpack what he was saying. And he was like, well, the people, they understand what I'm saying, trying to make it like it's just a her thing and it's not an audience thing. And a lot of hoteps do this. A lot of hoteps. The worst is street hoteps. Y'all street hoteps, y'all niggas are the absolute worst. It's like, what the fuck is this nigga talking about? Like, it's like, the motherfuckers sound like they talking about Dragon Ball Z and shit. It starts sounding like Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, like cats is talking like they about to, throw ha's and lightning bolts and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Like they start talking like, and they always got to throw in melanin and act like melanin has, yeah, see, brother, you're not looking out your third eye, brother. See, what you got to do is you got to vibrate at a higher frequency, because when you vibrate at a higher enough frequency, the vibrations shake the calcium deposits of your calcified pineal gland. They shake the calcium off of it, and then you can enter the fourth dimension of consciousness, my brother. And it's like, oh my God, nigga, stop. And it's the brokest dudes that are talking this, dudes that's not focused on money. You know what I mean? They usually got some other, hotep bitch that's got crystals and shit, and they got the beads, in their fucking apartment between the living room and the kitchen and shit. Oh God, like just stop. Just stop. You're not going to challenge white supremacy or the domination of any other group with all of this mysticism. Look, I get it. We're the original man. We were the first people on this planet, yada, yada, yada. But you got to start talking about some real world applications. Okay. And again, if you have a limited vocabulary, you might have some brilliant ideas in your head. Okay. You might be super intelligent, but if you can't convey that, it's like somebody took your voice box away. If you can't convey the thoughts that you have in a clear and concise manner so that other people can understand what you're saying and do it in a timely fashion, you might as well not have a voice box. Okay? Because nobody's listening to you. They're like, okay, this dude sound crazy. He's a rock star away from being homeless and living off the street and trying to give people advice and shit. And it's just, it's even if you get somebody that's polite that'll listen to you for a couple of minutes, people don't respect that. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to tell some of you, especially the brothers, you need to start trying to improve your vocabulary, and you need to start trying to improve, your debate skills and conveying your message. Because I know that they say 85% of all communication is nonverbal, but when you're in the online space, it's all verbal language and written language. That's what it is. That is the most powerful tool that you have. That whole, the pen is mightier than the sword rhetoric, which, I take with a grain of salt, but I get the damn point. I get the point. Like when people want to talk about Israel and Gaza, people can say what they want about all the evil shit and the over the top and overkill stuff that Israel is doing. I'm saying, but you got to respect the fact that Israel has positioned itself as such to where, Joe Biden and his administration look like a bunch of weak bitches that are controlled by a foreign entity. It's like Netanyahu just keeps doing whatever you keep saying, you keep wagging your finger, but Netanyahu clearly is doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And everybody's scared of being called anti-Semitic. I'm like, yeah, that's some hellified positioning, because we all know everybody's scared of being called anti-Semitic because there's consequences. Phone calls are being made. People are losing their job. People are being forced to resign. That's hellified positioning. You see, it's not just a matter of, having the material support of being able to go in there and just bomb Gaza into oblivion. You also have to look at the positioning, the political positioning, the funding and supporting of institutions. I mean, that's why I posted that video of the Arab guy. I was like, oh my God, he's saying what I said. That's why I posted that video of I don't know what network that was, but he was breaking that shit down, and I was like, I literally just said that in my video, giving the Israeli props for their positioning. I'm like, that's what you need to focus on. But we got a lot. I don't know, man. And this isn't the first time. I used to say this about people who used to call in Black Authority. I don't think Professor Black Truth did live call-ins. Maybe he did, but I mean, Black Authority definitely has had some just some low level IQ having people that call in that can't even articulate your own, like, you're handicapped at that point. You're handicapped. This isn't class. This isn't a classroom. Like, there's no A, B, C, D grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just simply, hey, you're on the line. Say whatever you want. And you have people who can't even articulate themselves verbally. Look, some people aren't the best writers, but they can definitely articulate themselves verbally. But if you can't do either one, if you can't articulate yourself verbally, nor you can articulate yourself written, like in terms of writing, like, oh my God, you're done. You're toast. You're toast. You're just toast. I don't even know how you existing out here. I don't even know how you're making it. You know what I mean? Like, you are going to end up just being that dude that's bagging groceries for the rest of your life. I'm not trying to put anybody down, but I have a hard time with the idea that somebody is that dumb unless they have like a serious learning disability, or they have some sort of other genetic issue or something. They're missing a chromosome or something. I have a hard time with people not being able to, articulate themselves verbally, because we develop language before we develop verbal language before we develop written language. And learning how to write, learning how to read, learning how to write cursive and everything, like, little kids talk before they learn any of those other skills. So it's like, you should master that. And again, you only got to master one language. Right? You don't have to master 2, 3 languages. You got people out here, they can speak Spanish, they can speak, French, they speak Russian, they speak English, they speak multiple languages. They're damn polyglots. But yet you're up there and you sound like you're a shy black teenager, in the ninth grade. Taken, that only has a 7th grade reading level. And I know that there's a lot of black folks in the black community that struggle with reading, because they didn't invest time in it, and their parents didn't read to them every night. Their parents didn't put that type of investment. I mean, there's a lot of people that just shouldn't have kids, straight up. There's just a lot of people that just they leave their kids to raise themselves, and their kids are just behind. And you know what ends up happening? The people who invest in their kids are the ones that end up running the show. Their kids are the ones that end up doing the hiring and the firing, and then your kids end up working for their kids. You got to understand this. This shit is not, a game. This is serious business I'm talking about. I'm telling you, you should be using, again, for those of you, who are heeding my words, you should be using ChatGPT or Anthropic or whatever other AI, what do you call it? What is the damn software called? Language model. You should be using that to improve your language, improve your vocabulary. I mean, I think Webster's dictionary app has a new word of the day, notification that you can get to improve your vocabulary. This shit is serious. It's serious. I wish that I had an improved vocabulary. I mean, I've said before, one of the best orators that I've listened to online and I would like to emulate was Thugtician. But Caps pointed out that Thugtician, he wrote all of his stuff. A number of people wrote their stuff. Statuesque One wrote her stuff. You Heard Me First Time wrote her stuff. Thugtician wrote his stuff. And it was so interesting. And there's some actual big YouTubers that I have talked to behind the scenes who say to me, they're like, dude, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, how do I do what? They're like, you just say all this shit off the top of your head and you think on your toes. And I'm like, I don't even think about it. I mean, I could, write stuff down. But, even even when it comes to me reading, I do a lot of thinking when I'm reading. And so unless I read a document more than once, it doesn't flow. When I read a document the first time, it doesn't flow. Many of you have probably picked that up about me. It doesn't flow because I'm thinking the way I want to speak as opposed to what's actually on the paper. And I will put words in the document or on the paper that aren't actually there because as I'm reading it, I'm thinking about how I would say it or how I would rewrite it. And that's always been a problem for me. So I have to read something probably about 2 or 3 times. And then, then it's like, okay, I know where this is going. And then I can just, free read and just go from there, where it's not memorized, but, the transition parts, which are the major parts that contribute to the flow, I already anticipate or I already know that they're going to be there. Like one of the things that always threw me off with writing, what always threw me off with writing? Reading. The fact I like how Spanish people do it, where the question mark is at the beginning of the sentence. Because how do you know how when you read a question, questions have a certain inflection when you read a question. What are you doing? Right? Like it's a question. Right? It's not just flat. It has like an inflection to it. But when you're reading, the question mark's at the end. So sometimes a question can be worded a certain way to where you don't know it's a question until you get to the end and you see the question mark. I'm like, why don't they put the question mark at the beginning? That way I know it's a question before I get to the end. So in my head, it sounds like a question, right? That always bothered me. The other thing that bothered me is the damn dollar sign. You know what I mean? Because the dollar sign, if I'm writing and I say $20, where should the dollar sign be? It should be after the 20, right? Because it's $20, right? But instead, it's $20 when you write it. That's always irritated the fuck out of me. It's $20. It's not $20, right? But because when we say 20 cents, where does the cent sign go? Does it go before the 20 or does it go after the 20? It goes after the 20. 20 cents, right? You put that little C with the freaking line through it, right? 20 cents. But yet when we say $20, we go 20 and then put the dollar sign in front of the 20. Ooh, that's irritating to me. Little tiny things that, that I've noticed, right? It's like the word apart, right? Apart, right? Versus a part, right? A part is something that is a part of something, right? But the word apart, like they split apart, is one word, even though you're talking about it being separated. So why isn't it the other way around? That has also irritated the shit out of me. Right? But see, these little slight irritations only come with an understanding and a mastery of the language. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, a part of a car. Okay, why is a part? Why isn't that one word? Because it's together. It's a part of something. But then I separated it apart is one word. So the A and the PART are together, but yet we're talking about something being separated. So why doesn't the letters and the words itself reflect the separation of the thing that I'm talking about being separated? I don't know. Is this like me being autistic or like some sort of like savant or something that irritates the shit out of me? But anyway, that's that. I'm just saying, that is what I mean when I talk about, mastery, like even thinking in that abstract context, most people are like, I never thought about it. Guaranteed there's gonna be a bunch of people who listen to me break this down and they're gonna be like, I never thought about it like that. Like even with the whole apart thing versus part, a part versus a part, right? So I'm just saying, to many of you, who are heeding these words. And some of you, you don't even need this. I'm like preaching to the choir. Some of you, like, you're already on your P's and Q's and you're doing your thing. And, I don't need to say what I'm saying. But and I don't even think, chances are that this message is not going to get to the people that it needs to get to. Maybe I might affect, more people than if I had not made this video at all. So I'm still going to post it. But it's man, the people that call in these shows sometimes and Tariq's got to land their plane, or just how slow they are, or even if they're talking, like, there's no logical pattern. Their thoughts aren't connecting. It's like, man, and you guys are just walking around, just, trying to function in this world. And I'm just like, I don't know how you function. I don't know how you function. And see, this is where you get into the prejudicial shit, where you get into the elitism, and the intelligent people, they don't want to be around that. I'm telling you right now, they don't want to be around that. People do not want to be around you if they think that they're dumb and they have the resources to not be around you. And that's what, the real ugly side of capitalism and economics, really is, because, and maybe the economics is not the right word, but that's the ugly side, where people are like, yes, we're going to use the only intelligent people can make money. So we're going to use making money as the yardstick or the measuring stick to determine whether not only can you afford to live in this neighborhood, but again, that also filters out the people who are not intelligent, because only intelligent people can make money. See, that's how you get into, that's not racism. That's intellectual superiority. And there's a lot of people where people think that it's racism. And we know that how economics, and if you have economic discrimination, then people won't have the money. And then people try to, use that as the pretext to discriminate against African Americans. Be like, oh, well, black people didn't have the money, so therefore, they're not intelligent, yada, 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 right? They try to go that route. But I'm just saying that that there are people who are intellectual elitist who are not racist, but they're intellectual elitist. And they want people that it's like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's one of the things that makes comedians, so funny and entertaining, is because, and I got to get ready because my battery is about to die. It's one of the things that makes them funny and entertaining, because they can take all these cross-cultural references and distill them down to, to make a joke that most people can understand, and they laugh at it, and they think that it's hilarious. That takes a lot of wit and cleverness, and this is one of the things that women find attractive when it comes to men spitting game and men being able to demonstrate, how intelligent they are. That's what women find attractive. That's what I'm saying. Like, this applies to so many aspects of life, even if you think that it doesn't. It does. I'm telling you that it does. And people are going to put you in a box if you can't articulate yourself. So, anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts. I'm going to go finish listening to Tariq and all these people calling in. But yeesh, man, some of these people calling in. Anyway, that's my video, SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. I don't know what's been going on with my voice lately. You hear my voice cracking? I don't know what's been going on with my voice. It's like I got like this, like a cold without having a cold. It's very weird. Anyway, that's my video, SWP out.